Hi, I'm Mark from MABO Science, and I would like to welcome you to this course on the installation and configuration on Kali Linux Lite on a virtual machine. Now, this course is especially created for those who would like to use Linux as a penetration testing tool. Now, before starting this course, I'm putting some disclosures in. As the installation and configuration is performed on a software created by VMWare Inc. called VMPlayer, and that of course there are so many others out there, is that I'm redirecting you in case you are not using VMPlayer but any other ones. And additionally, for this course I'm using Kali Linux Lite version 2019-2 for AMD 64 processors. Now, this means that the installation and configuration of a Kali Linux operating system can be slightly different from version to version. Now, that all said, let's crack on and start how to install Kali Linux Lite on a virtual machine. Now, very first of all, in VMPlayer, to create a new VM machine, you click actually on the option create a new virtual machine. On the moment you do that, the new virtual machine wizard will open up, and there you have two options: install disk or install disk image file. Now in this case we will select of course the installer disk image file, which in this case needs to be an ISO, so anything else will not work. You select browse, you browse to the location where your ISO is located, you select it, and once that's done you click just on the next button. Then you need to create the guest operation system, and in this case of course for guest operating system it will be Linux, and the version Kali Linux has or is a comes from Debian, so in this case we will use Debian 9.x. Once you did that, we're gonna click again on the next button, and then the name of the virtual machine will be requested, and that's up to you what you would like to do. In this case, the virtual machine name, I called it Kali Linux Lite, and the location where you would like to install it is a big word. It's actually where all the different files will be located. Click next, and then the disk specifications are presented. Now by default for Linux it will say that the maximum disk size would be 8 gigabytes, and that all the files where the virtual disks are located are split up in multiple files. Now from experience I'm changing this in the sense of that I'm going to 20 gigabytes. Why? For the simple reason is that during the installation the ISO is decompacted and it will take way more than just the 8 gigabytes that is present, and by definition the installation will fail due to disk full issues. And for this very small installation, which is only 20 gigabytes, I use store virtual disk on a single file. Why I do that? Very simply is when I want to back up the whole storage, or in better said the folder, it's easier to do this because it's just a few files and not a whole bunch of files. Once that's done, you click the next button, and then it says it's ready to create a virtual machine. Now do not click directly on the finish button, but we're gonna make some small changes, and these changes are mainly in memory and then CPU. For the simple reason, by default the memory is 512 megabytes and one processor. Kali Linux Lite will run on this, but if you want to start multiple processes or start some more, I would say, heavier applications, it's a bit on the minimum, and it's better to change that from day one. What I do recommend is memory is actually 1 gigabyte or 1024 megabytes and a processor to 2. How to do that? Just click on the button Customize Hardware and virtual machine settings will pop up, and we're gonna click first twice on the memory. Once that's done, you have two possibilities, or you type in manually, what I mainly do, 1024 or equals to 1 gigabytes. For those who like to use a slider, you can use actually the blue little slider here and shift it up to 1 gigabyte. Once that's done, once that's done, we're gonna click on processor and we're gonna select here 2. Now be aware, yes, it's grayed out for the simple reason it's to avoid that you can enter the number of CPUs yourself. You actually have to click on the little arrow and to select the 2. Once that's done, click up OK. It will represent once the new virtual machine wizard. Click on the finish and it will not start up yet your virtual machine, but it will bring you back to the initial window where we will then click on Play Virtual Machine. Once we click on it, it will kick off the actual virtual machine, and it will start also Kali Linux himself in the sense of the very first boot, so that we can install. To install Kali Linux, in this case we have two possibilities, the install or the graphical install. For all futures installation configurations, I will be using the text version, or the console version means in this case install. Now once that's all done, the actual installation process will kick off, and that I will present in a secondary video. I hope this helped already, and we will see you next time. Bye bye.